All right, welcome everybody. We are getting started here. I'm really excited about today's webinar. I see some familiar names here to start us off as we allow for some time for more
Wow.
people to file in.
All
If you are
right.
alive and well, please type in the chat box. I believe I enabled chat today properly. In the chat box, where are you tuning in from? Are you in Wayne, New Jersey? Are you in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania? Jill, are you St. Louis, Missouri? Charles Tadros, great to have you here. Gaetano, thank you for posting your LinkedIn. We will be sure to check that
Rhode
out.
Island. Love it. Seattle. All right. Quebec. Wow. This is amazing.
Nearly Philly. Okay, Newark, New Jersey. I'm from New Jersey, so I'm familiar.
Newark. All right. All right.
Georgia,
Topanga.
Topanga. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited about today's webinar. Let me give you some context, and I'll introduce to you our guests. So I was at the Wonderland conference with Adrian Hill, our Director of Client Success, and we met our guests today from Being True to You, Deanne Adamson and Jules Zanakis, and they're doing something really, really unique that is so desperately needed in the space. And that is they're able to provide remote integration, remote psychedelic ketamine coaches so that your clients can have the best possible experience from their ketamine journey and retain for the full treatment course, 6, 8, 10 sessions. So they are an amazing organization. I feel like we took a lot of your time at that at the booth, but hopefully it was well worth it. So let me give you guys just a brief background. First of all, thank you to Jules and Deanne for being here, and thanks for all to all you guys for participating. Being True to You is a first of its kind company. It started in 2010, and their mission is to pioneer and provide remote preparation and integration coaching services to psychedelic and holistic centers across the nation. And then ketamine clinics came up. They're a wealth of information on simple and effective and profitable integration models. So without further ado, I am going to pass it to the founder and CEO of Being True to You, Deanne Adamson. Deanne, thank you so much for being here today and be on this webinar to share with our community.
Welcome, Deanne. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott and Kieran. It's great to be here. It was a pleasure meeting you at MAPS and then again at Wonderland. We're so happy we ran into you, and all the conversation we had has just been beautiful. It's a really wonderful fit that we have, our two companies. What you guys are doing for ketamine clinics and wellness clinics is really needed. There's a lot of great providers out there and treatments out there, but running a business is really hard. And getting out there and letting people know about it takes a lot of effort. So it's really great what you guys are doing at Beyond Marketing. We're so ecstatic to be working with you guys. And thank you for having us on the webinar. We are pleased to share who we are and what we do and how we can support various wellness clinics, such as ketamine clinics and psychedelic clinics. So first, I can just give a little intro to who I am. And then Jules, if you want to say hi and just share what you do in the company. And then we'll share a little presentation for about 15 minutes or so on what we do and how we can help you. And then we'll just go to Q&A after that. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. We could try to answer them as we go, or we'll get to them at the end so you don't forget, or just take notes and we can hear from your voice once we finish the presentation, what's on your mind and what's coming up for you and what inquiries you have. So starting with myself, I'm Deanne Adamson. I started a company called Being True to You in 2010. Before that, I worked in a lot of different sectors. I come from hospitality and working in resorts, which is a big part of our work now too, is just bringing hospitality into healthcare. And I worked in family and child care services in the nonprofit sector. I've worked in the judicial sector as a victim advocate, working with juvenile crimes and domestic violence victims. And then I became a mental health counselor. So that was my former training was in clinical counseling. And that was a great journey and I learned so much. But in 2010, I made a big decision to leave the counseling sector and I started Being True to You. I wanted to help people through their human experience in a much more profound and deep way. I didn't know exactly what I was doing then, but I started Being True to You. And right after I did, in 2010, I met the Ibogaine community. Ibogaine coming from Iboga, considered one of the world's most powerful psychedelic or entheogenic medicines. And people are using the derivative ibogaine for addiction detox. And so that was my entrance into this work in 2010. And so I started providing aftercare recovery coaching to people that were going through that treatment. And then I started doing preparation and integration coaching around it. And that's when I discovered this industry of preparation and integration. And I thought, wow, this is so beautiful because there's so many amazing treatments and technologies and techniques out there and wellness programs, but without preparation and integration wrapped around it, we're really limiting the potential for clients. And so I got very busy very quickly. I had to bring on new counselors and new coaches, not new, but like other professionals to come in and support me. And 3 years into that, in 2013, they requested that I put a training program together. And by that time, we were getting calls from medicine clinics all around the world. We were doing mostly international work at that time. And so we had to learn quickly, and we really had to learn a new way on our own. And I'll speak about that model today. But so, yeah, I started a coach training program in 2010. We've been running that for a decade now. We've trained upwards of 1,500 people at this point, professionals of every kind, professors, school teachers, yoga instructors, counselors, social workers, even MAPS trains therapists are coming to us, special forces, veterans, cops, firefighters. I mean, you name it, we have the coolest coaching team. We really do. We have attracted a really high caliber group of people who want to help and serve and do more than they felt they could do in their current careers at times, So we have an amazing training program. We can get to that later. We do trainings. We train coaches, we train sitters, we train staff, we train companions. We have a lot of different trainings. Today, we'll be focusing more on what we do for clinics and how we can, do a before and after care for you. So that's just a little overview of myself. Jules, do you want to say hello and what you do with the company?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Jules. I manage the partnerships with Being True to You. So if you are interested in utilizing our services with your clinic, I will be the point of contact, and we really help you, customize programs specific to your clinic, what you're offering. I'm excited to get into the specifics of that today and how we can help you guys. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Scott and Kieran. Just love Beyond Marketing, what you guys are doing, and look forward to more collaboration in the future.
Thank you. That it was a very, very effective synopsis of what you guys have done. It doesn't do justice to what you guys have done in the last 13 to 14 years. And what I really appreciate is the fact that you've been around for so long in this space. And with everything that's going on, I think it's amazing to have a set precedent or blueprint in the integration side with not just psychedelics, but mental health treatments overall, right? There's a comprehensive care model out there. And I think it's important for us to understand that there's certain ways of how we can incorporate certain elements of this business, from coaching, counseling, therapy, and overall integration. So awesome to hear. Deanne, I'm going to circle back to you. I know you have some slides you wanted to share. Really excited to hear about that a bit. But just so we understand, guys, today we do have a Q&A at the end. So if you guys have questions, you can throw them into the Q&A forum, and we will have them answered as we go through some of the presentation and towards the end as well. We want to keep this as open as we can for any questions you guys have, but definitely bring those questions up, and we'll pass the mic back to you, Deanne.
Wonderful. Thank you all. So yeah, we'll do a little slideshow just to share more about our company, our history, what we've done, and that will prompt some questions as well to deepen the conversation. So Being True to You, we have two sides of the company. We do coaching and we do trainings, and there's a lot of offshoots of each of those verticals. So Being True to You, we're the first of our kind transformational and psychedelic integration coaching company. We have been offering a variety of integration packages to different wellness clinics. It has been a very fun process of creating so many different things. And at this point, 14 years later, we have really ironed out and nailed down exactly what we're doing and really refined our model. And thanks to Jules, Jules has done so much work in the company, setting up these partnerships and just really listening to what partners need and what the clients of our partners need to figure out how can we be that perfect partner to perfect service to partner with, to provide preparation and integration services to your clients, because it's a very important job. There's a lot of responsibility, there's a lot of liability, there's a lot of ethics. And so we offer integration programs. That's what we do for clinics and for individuals. Like I said, we started in the ibogaine sector, and then we just branched out from there and worked with psychedelic and wellness clinics and different holistic and alternative clinics around the world, throughout the United States, Canada, really all over. It's just been amazing. I talked to you already about the coach training program. I'll mention our community of coaches. We have a very unique community of coaches because we have been curating and cultivating this team for a long time. A lot of our coaches have been with us for many, many years, and they have become experts and specialists in the coaching arena on top of the expertise that they already came into our community with. We have coaches all over the country, speak many different languages, lots of different backgrounds, even coaches in different countries. So it's very nice because when we build a coaching team for your clinic, for instance, we can learn about you and your audience and what they're dealing with, and then we can build a coaching team that is an extension of your program to fit your clientele. And whatever clients are coming through, we'll always have a best matched coach for them. So it's really great. Our coaches are also, they've been through the transformational process. You know, when we look at credentials, they don't just have credentials in an academic sense and in training, you know, with psychedelic integration, but they've been there. They've been through addiction. They've been through depression and chronic pain and suffering and adversity, and they've worked very hard to transform their lives and come out on top. And that's what we see clients are really looking for. They're not really asking for those academic credentials. They're asking, have you been there? Can you relate to what I'm going through? And I think that's what makes our team just so special, is this is a team that has worked very, very diligently on their own self, on their life, to transform things that seem impossible and that sometimes the healthcare system will say is impossible. So yeah, we have a really good team and we're just very close. We've worked together for a long time. So we know our coaches in person. We know them very well. We spend a lot of time with them. Over our 14 years, we've helped a lot of people. I'd say we've helped over 100 different psychedelic programs. We've trained upwards of 1,500 students. We maintain a coaching directory of 100 coaches, but we have hundreds more on deck that are always interviewing to come into our program. And we have supported I thought 10,000. We've supported over 10,000 clients, and really a lot more if you were to look at all the coaches on our team and all the people we've supported. So that's who we are. I'll also say we offer virtual services. So everything we do is remote. However, there are cases where we can do travel coaching, where we can do in-house training with staff, where we can send coaches to your program if you need on-site support. So a lot of ways to collaborate. So looking at our mission is something we think about a lot. We think about our core values and why we're doing this and why it's important to us. It's not just about giving people access to treatments. It's, for us, it's very much about helping people to transform their lives. And so if they're setting out to use a ketamine treatment or some other kind of treatment, what's the goal behind it? What's the pain point? Really, what are they setting out to achieve? And what we have found, especially with, ketamine clients, is that they have a goal and they have a pain point and something they want to work toward. Some of these treatments are not cheap for them. They have to spend a lot of investment mentally, emotionally, financially into this. And so we really want to help clients identify what is that goal? What is that challenge, that problem, that condition, like what is it that it would take to get to the next level? And then we want to help people do that. So we're very committed to helping people use their states of suffering as a launching pad for personal transformation and sticking with them through that arc of that healing and growth process. And then in addition, we're very committed to helping this new wave of wellness clinics come in. You know, we have TMS clinics, we have ketamine clinics, and we have potentially other psychedelic substances getting legalized federally this year or by next year, which means there will be a whole new phase of treatments and therapies coming online. And I have seen from a very young age with my having a parent in healthcare that there was just a need to revamp our process for, you know, helping individuals, because I feel that the heart and soul was really lacking. And so I would say our mission is to really bring the heart and soul and hospitality and service and just genuine support into this arena, and to hold it accountable and raise the standards, and you set a value system that actually protects the client. So we're really putting people first over profits, but we're still making profits. You know, we do believe in business, and we do like working with companies that know how to run and scale businesses. And we believe that we can do that in integrity and in a genuine way that supports both the company and stakeholders, but also supports all these individuals that really are desperate for something new. So that is a little bit about our mission. Next, we'll get into our roles and offerings, which really get into what we're offering for partners. So Jules, if you want to step in and go over the next couple slides, you sure can.
Yeah, thank you, Deanne. I'd love to. So in the ketamine space specifically, we've worked with dozens of ketamine clinics over the past 3 years, really specializing our niche in this area. And Being True to You can work with your center in several ways. So the primary way that we can work with you is by adding preparation and integration coaching into your ketamine treatments. And so when we partner in this way, we provide each clinic with a specialized pod of coaches who are trained specifically in ketamine integration coaching. And we offer monthly additional trainings with our coaches. And we're also in touch with them daily to go through real-time case support. So if they're wanting, you know, to have kind of a hive mind of how to work with clients, we offer that every day. We're in contact with our coaches. And then every month we're doing continued trainings to really help refine our skills and notice the trends across the country that we're noticing. So it's not just coaches working with one clinic. We have the advantage of working with dozens of clinics. So things that are happening in this area, we can pull in and use that as an advantage for you and your clinic and your patients. We also have a large pool of coaches to choose from. So when we are creating your specialized pod of coaches, we're going to make sure that we have every client demographic covered for every patient that comes in for you. So like Deanne said, we have coaches who are professionally trained, but they've also all undergone their own ketamine experiences. And so they know what it's like to be in the chair. They know what it's like to be in suffering and then go through this hugely transformational process with ketamine. And they speak to your clients from a place of knowing. And so we get really specific with our matching process too, which is really fun. So say you have a 55-year-old divorced female that's coming through to ketamine because she wants to find her identity again, figure out how to parent her children now in this co-parenting state. Like, we can match her with a woman who's been through a very similar experience and has walked that path. So there's immediately like so much trust and rapport there, and like, oh my gosh, like you actually get where I'm coming from. So in addition to the coaching, we also provide administrative support. We're here 5 days a week during business hours, even on the weekends as needed. We help resolve grievances for your clients coming in. And we always help ensure that clients are leaving with a good impression of your clinic. And then we come and provide feedback to you after, you know, the things that we hear from clients. And I tell you, we hear a lot of things from clients that they don't tell the clinic staff directly. And our hope in doing that is that, hey, let's all learn together. We're all imperfect humans. And let's just learn from our mistakes so that we don't continue this into new patients. We also follow up with quality care calls for each of your clients. So we're really making sure that we have that personal touch with each client. So we offer our individual integration coaching packages. We can also offer group integration for your clients. Like Deanne's saying, this is all virtual services that we're offering. We have a wide variety of curriculum and materials that we can offer, including workbooks, worksheets, and simple kind of one-page lessons and tools for clients to implement that day. We offer a variety of training options, both virtual and in person, for your on-site staff. And we have a companion training that is for loved ones who are supporting those going through ketamine treatments. We have over 170 different training modules that you and your clinic can choose from, kind of a la carte, to fit exactly what you need in your clinic. So if we can move to the next slide. There are several ways that Being True to You can provide coaching to your clients. So again, in the onboarding process, I'll kind of talk to you, talk about your clinic, see what works, and then we'll come up with a customized plan for you all. The first way would be to embed a select number of coaching sessions into the upfront cost of treatment. So say it's $2,500 to go through an induction of six treatments for you all. You would add an additional, let's say, $300 to $400 for the coaching, depending on how many sessions you wanted to do. And that would be all one cost to the patient. After that, for the sessions used that month, Being True to You would invoice you for those sessions. And it's just a very compassionate continuum of care. So it's the clients are paying one fee, and it's for their treatment and their coaching sessions. The other way, clients can self-pay us directly, and we include that as part of your enrollment process. So we can make up a little intake PDF for you that has, our intake forms, and it's just one of the sheets that you include in your onboarding documents for clients. So with that, clients are also able to purchase additional sessions after their first round of coaching to support them through the induction period. And we really encourage the continued integration. In that, for our partners, we offer you a 10% commission back for 1 year for all of the packages that your clients purchase. There's so much of an importance on longer term integration that I think is just really not being stressed in this industry. And there was actually a presentation done at ASKP last week talking about the neuroplastic response rate over time. And after 7 days, the research showed that there was a 13% neuroplastic response rate, but after 60 days, there was a 62% neuroplastic response rate. And I'd be happy to throw those numbers in the chat here in a minute. But this means that people become more responsive and open to new ideas and learning as more time progresses from their initial induction period. So this really, really highlights the importance of having longer term integration, support, and accountability throughout this process if we're really talking about having compassionate care for our patients and helping them optimize the investment that they're making in this treatment. So sometimes I hear from clinic owners, oh, our patient's coming through, they have therapists already. Do they really need an integration, ketamine integration coach? The answer is absolutely yes, they do. And I use this analogy. If I am, just a healthy person, I'm going to my doctor, I'm doing checkups every year, I'm going to go to my primary care physician. If I find out that I have cancer, I'm not going to go to my primary care physician. I'm going to go to an oncologist. I'm going to go to someone who specifically specializes in helping me treat this issue. So I kind of think as therapists and ketamine integration coaches as the same. You can go to therapists for your just everyday things that you're working through in life, but how many therapists are actually specifically trained in ketamine integration? I know maybe 1%. Our ketamine integration coaches, this is what they do all day, every day. They are constantly in this frame of mind, and they are constantly going through our additional trainings and also giving themselves additional training. So I kind of look at the ketamine integration specialist as, hey, this is a shorter term thing to help you specifically integrate your ketamine experiences and take these insights that you get in the chair into real life action in your life. So again, I'd be happy to talk to anyone else as we're if you have questions about the onboarding process, but we'll continue with the presentation. And yeah, I'll pass it back to you, Dia.
Lovely, Jules. Thank you so much. Very well stated and shared about what we're doing with helping partners with before and after care and preparation and integration. It really will change your clinic very quickly. As soon as we start working with clinics, they're just like, wow, I can't believe we used to do this without you. Our clients are showing up ready to do the work from the start, where they usually are after several sessions. And so they're going to go deeper and further in that process. So now I'll talk a little bit about our model and why it's unique. Certainly, I don't think that we branded transformational coaching. That might belong to Tony Robbins. I'm not sure. But what we found when we started working with people through psychedelic therapies early on was that this is such a beautiful modality, psychedelic therapies and coaching, because both modalities ask the person to do their own work. And I think that's the stage that we're at right now in healing and growth, is people are recognizing that something outside of themselves isn't necessarily going to save them or fix them, that there are many good tools and many good approaches that can help them open up their consciousness and create a container to do their work. But ultimately, a person does in fact have to do their work. And so that's what we're doing here at Being True to You with our coaching program, is that we are guiding clients to do the work that they would have to do to create the results that they set out to achieve, which is going to increase satisfaction rates and success rates for your clients at your clinic. But what transformational integration really is all about is preparing people to do the work. And a lot of times people don't know how to do the work. We live in a culture that has taught people to seek outside themselves for some kind of medication or something to alleviate their pain and to mask their suffering so that they can live a normal or average life. And what we're really saying is it is possible, and we've seen it through this process, to transcend states of suffering, and oftentimes even like chronic states of suffering, and that it's a process of mind, body, and spiritual work. And so what we're doing is we're preparing people for that work, and we're preparing them to learn how to navigate altered states of consciousness, to lean into difficult emotions, to be able to process past memories and see things in a different light, and to face some of those hard truths that we have to acknowledge to basically set ourselves free, and just learning how to be with what comes up in the mind, because that's really what this experience is opening up the psyche and higher states of consciousness and being able to see past, present, and future, and self, other, and environment, and being able to process the different aspects of our human experience and then come back and integrate all of that afterward. And so what we're doing in the preparation stage is so essential, because we're helping clients to identify that no matter what kind of experience you have when you go into a journey or you go into a TMS session, it doesn't matter how it shows up. What matters is just observing what comes up. What kind of thoughts are coming up? What kind of emotions? What sensations? What memories? Is there a pattern between them? What meaning are you drawing from them? Are you having a difficult time just sitting still, or are you really enjoying the relaxation? There's so much matter and material that we can be using to support the integration process. And so what we're doing is preparing people for that work and helping them to identify that work, so that when the fear comes up, the anxiety, the resistance, the defenses, the anger, whatever it is, that a person can stop and say, this is mine, this is my work. If they don't have that training, oftentimes they'll project it onto the clinic, they'll blame the support staff. They might even say, oh, this medicine isn't worth it, because they are evading their work and they just don't understand, no, this is the work, right? They want to come in and just feel good and leave and feel good. But what we help clients to understand is that, in fact, to feel good and to receive the healing and growth that you're wanting, sometimes we do have to turn over each leaf of our pain and the burdens that we're carrying and look at it. And once clients understand that, it's like, aha, I get it. And they really realize it feels good to do that work. It feels good to lean into that discomfort and to process it. And actually they can move through it quite quickly. And then what happens is that clients feel very inspired and more engaged in the treatment sessions, because they understand how to work with it. So the idea behind transformational integration is that we are using all matter, from thoughts to emotions to conflicts to attachments to anything that's really coming up in a person's life before, during, or after the treatment. And we're using that as an access point to transform that which is holding them back. And we think about this in terms of stages, like you have your preparation stage, where you're gearing up for treatments and therapies and particular retreats that you're doing. And then you go in and you're navigating the space, you're navigating the journeys, you have your skills and your tools, and you're ready to do the work. You've put your defenses down and you're ready to listen to the staff and just follow the instructions, because that's hard for people too. And then after that, you move into an integration phase. And then from this comes the transformation. And that's really the results that we're looking for at these clinics. Some of the findings, we have a lot of findings that we have seen over the last 15 years. And so I'll just share a couple of them here. One of them is that success with ketamine and psychedelic therapies is really going to depend on the integration that follows. Just like Jules was saying, there's a window after these experiences where a person can more easily change. It's easier to put down bad habits, even mentally and physically, and to reconstruct the way that people see the world, perceive situations, and move through the world. And so we want to take advantage of that time after the treatment, because that's really where all of the work and the magic is happening. So without integration, we are missing, I would say, 95% of what could become from a treatment. Other findings are that when there isn't integration, the positive effects will fade. And so eventually people will have this big hype. They're like, oh, I love this treatment, it's helping me. But then over time, they're like, well, actually, it's not sticking. So I'm wasting my time. This isn't a real treatment. And then their positive testimonials can turn to negative criticism, when really it's not the treatment's fault at all. It's actually that they just weren't integrating and they didn't know how to cultivate those changes inside of themselves. We also are noticing that clients don't know how to make sense of their journeys and make sense of their own work and how to work in partnership with the journeys if they don't have guidance. And so oftentimes they will just discontinue. And a lot of times they'll just say, oh, thank you, it was great. And they won't really tell you what they're thinking. They tell us on the back end, so we learn. They say, it's not really helping me, or it was just really random and sporadic, and I just don't know what to make from it. But when we're working with people, it's very different. They will say, and we'll show a couple testimonials here in a minute, they will say that it's the coaching that helped me make sense of the experience and identify where my work was and what to integrate. We've also noticed that medical professionals and on-site staff do have a challenge with bandwidth of keeping up with people off site. So a lot of times we talk to clinics, they'll say, oh yeah, we're doing prep and integration. But when we look at it, there's a phone call that's happening on the front and back end, oftentimes a 20 to 30-minute phone call. It's not real prep, it's not integration. And we have found that when clinics try to do it in-house, they end up not doing it. It is a full-time business. It's a completely separate operation. And I don't think, clinics have the ability to take that on easily. We've also noticed that it can be difficult for staff that come from clinical medical settings to know how to hold emotional space and hold spiritual space for clients. There's a lot of stuff that comes up. And so we have received a lot of feedback from clients about what's working, what's not working from the medical staff. It's, these kind of wellness, ketamine, TMS clinics and things like this. And so not only can we help provide, staff training and stuff like that, but we can take the pressure off of staff completely and not have to get into these long emotional on-site calls or phone calls afterward. We can just handle all of that so that medical professionals can just really focus on what they're doing on site. We also, as I kind of mentioned already, we just don't see that the hospitality is there that it could be. And so this is another place that we are really filling in for companies that need that support of looking at how can we really be that next level service organization, providing a state of excellence that these clients have never seen before, so that they are very loyal. They'll continue their process and they'll really get those results that they need because they're in that safe, warm, welcoming container. Okay, Jules, I'll turn it back to you. Let's look at some of the benefits directly to clinics that we partner with.
Awesome. Great. We have some great questions coming in the Q&A too. So I'll try and speed through these last two slides so that we can get to them. Thank you everyone for your questions. So partners with Being True to You, we've seen that they have experienced higher rates of client satisfaction, increased success, which in achieving their goals through ketamine treatments. And increased success and happier patients leads to more people talking about the greatness of these treatments, which then leads to more referrals through your door. We also help you all collect testimonials, and we provide a robust integration program that offers you a competitive advantage in the marketplace. So we work with incredible marketing partners like Beyond Marketing to help you really differentiate yourself in this market. And we try to really have like one premier partner in each metropolitan area so that we can really pour into you there and, really, again, create a large competitive advantage for a very saturated market in some places that is becoming ketamine clinics and wellness centers. So really, there isn't a disadvantage to adding our program into your offerings. We can customize things to fit your specific program. We offer a robust wraparound integration services at no additional cost to you and provide your clients with touch points and support in between their clinical visits. So this really allows your clients the opportunity to course correct in real time if they had a hard time or a difficult experience, navigating a treatment. They can talk to their coach about it and be like, hey, this is what was coming up for me. It was really hard. And our coaches are going to be able to give them skills and tools to help them better navigate their next treatments and following treatments. So really in this, it's like, hey, let us focus on what we've mastered, which is the preparation and in the integration. While like Deanne's saying, that frees up the resources for your clinic staff to be fully present and accountable to everyone when they're in clinic. And then that when people walk out your doors, they're in really, really good hands with us. So we work very closely with our partners. We're in communication with people daily, weekly, going back and forth about different patients. So we give you kind of like the 360 view, not just the view of when people are in clinic, but also those touch points in between as well, so that you really have a better picture of what's happening with people so that ultimately we can help serve people better. Moving to our next slide here. So when clients are really adequately prepared to come in for their first ketamine treatment, and that means, they have their intention set, they have a strategy and some tools to help them navigate the experience, and they're deeply connected to their why for ketamine treatments and know their goals that they're trying to get out of ketamine, it helps them go deeper into their experience from the first treatment on. And that really alleviates a lot of the work for your staff. And it also helps people feel like they're getting more of an investment in this process because it really is like, hey, it's not just the work that happens in the chair, it's everything we do outside of that too. And ketamine provides you a platform, or TMS provides you a platform to stand on to make it easier to take these actions, but it's the individual that still has to take the steps themselves. And, it's our coaches that come in, really, they know how to do that. They know how to give the structure, the support, the accountability, help people get set up. And it's like, I think of it as, we're your accountability partner. We're your friend. We're the ones holding your hands, really walking you through this treatment and encouraging you along the way to know that to get the results that we know are possible from these treatments. So our preparation and integration and coaching highly increases the likelihood that patients will stay through the course of all their treatments. And I do know that some clinics had issues with attrition rates before bringing our integration coaching on. And again, our coaching really helps to have those additional touch points between infusions, keep clients and patients focused on their internal work and their part in the process, because as the providers, as the ones treating them, we can't do the work for them. And so it's really, how can we encourage them and have the right structure in place to help them do the work, to make it easier for them to do the work, but really be supporting them throughout their infusions to do that. And we do that through, integrative activities, follow up after each session, checking in with people. Like, there's so much that our coaches offer that just will immediately add so many incredible services and so much care to all of your patients. So our sessions are what really help turn the insights that come up in the journeys, that all of the what can be kind of confusing or doesn't make sense sometimes, like the way I think about it is ketamine speaks in its own language and it speaks in metaphors. And so our coaches are really good at deciphering that language and helping their clients decipher it to then turn these insights into action. And that's where we create the real lasting change that people are looking and hoping for in these treatments. So as we kind of mentioned earlier, there is the vast majority of clients, when they have an undesirable experience or something goes wrong, or they'll kind of hold on to one little thing to try and discount the treatments. They do not talk to the clinic staff about that. However, they do talk to their coaches about that. And we catch over 90% of grievances that your clinic would not otherwise hear about. And in that process, we also help clients turn it into a learning experience and feel empowered in it instead of falling into victim mentality. And a huge part of the transformational model, like Deanne was saying, was how do we look within? How do we take personal responsibility for things? And then also, how do we, in this demographic specifically, really learn to use our voice, be an advocate for ourselves? I see that so often with these patients that's a huge area of struggle, being an advocate for yourself. But this is such a safe environment to practice that skill that's going to serve them so well for the rest of their lives. And so we talk about that in the coaching relationship. Hey, you had this situation. Okay, great. How about let's use this as a beautiful learning opportunity. Let's talk to the clinic staff about this. Use your voice, speak your truth, feel really empowered. And it's beautiful to see the transformations that can happen, and something that someone would have been walking away with a really sour experience. And instead we turned it into a really positive, beautiful learning experience for them. So at this point, I'd really love to, Deanne, if you want to pop up, some of the testimonials. We have seriously hundreds of testimonials from the past few years working specifically with ketamine clinics. And we'd love to share some of these with you. We can just keep these slides up on the screen, I think, as we go through our Q&A. And then I will put my email in the chat. So if you're interested in continuing the conversation, if your questions don't get answered today, we'd be happy to set up a discovery call, talk with you, hear more about your clinic. And just thank you everyone so much for your time and attention today. Thank you to Scott and Kieran and the whole team at Beyond Marketing. I'm just so grateful for all that you guys are doing and being able to help people serve people better. So
I can't thank you guys enough. And the truth is, it does take a village to do the right thing in this space. So it's a collective effort by all of us. So thank you guys. For everybody on our call today, I'm just going to send a form, a JOT form, essentially, which is a submission form to partner with Being True to You. If you're interested in their services and what they have to offer, it is in the chat. You can take a look at that as well. And in addition to that, I will also share Being True to You's website in the chat. But as far as the Q&A goes, I know we have some questions, and I can assure you every question will be answered. No question will be left unanswered today, guys. So we have some time. And again, thank you, Deanne and Jules, for that presentation. That was very informative. So let's get right into it. I did have a question here from Charles Tadros regarding ketamine clinics. Ketamine clinic patients having a therapy relationship with you or your coaches. I know you've answered this in the presentation a bit, but how would you answer that in terms of you being paid directly or the coaches being paid directly? How does that work exactly? Just touch on that really quick.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions in there to answer. One is the difference between therapy and coaching. So that's something we can get to. And then the other question is how to partner with us. And so there's a couple ways to partner with us. You can either include X amount of sessions of coaching in your package. So if you have 6 ketamine infusions that you're selling, you could purchase anywhere from 3 to 5 to more sessions that you bake into your original cost. And so that every single person that comes through is getting prep and integration. So ketamine clinics will typically put a session before, and then either a half or a full session in between the infusions, and then one after. And then the client would buy an additional package to continue. Or you could set it up to where they just self-pay from the beginning. So you just bake it into the step where, okay, now you have bought your treatments and we have you scheduled. The next step is to get matched with your coach, and they get a separate link, and it's a separate payment link. So it doesn't really matter to us whether you embed those services into your services and then you pay us directly, or if the client self-pays. So either way, that can work. Does that answer that question?
Yes, I believe that does. And thank you for answering that. And I think there's a couple of questions that kind of are circling around some of the same topics, but I'll let you guys kind of take the helm here because you're more informative on this than I am. I did want to mention one thing that really stood out to me before we go any further. I love the fact that you're talking about not just, psychedelics and ketamine itself, but also TMS. And I think even conventional mental health treatment like medications, there is an integrative process that's lacking there as well. So it's not just, we're saying this is a psychedelic component that we're focused on, but overall mental health treatments can use some sort of integrative coaching or therapy, if you will. And I think that's really important to remember. So we do appreciate you guys mentioning that. And I'll let you guys jump in with the questions. I know we have Charles's question that we did just go through. And Deanne, thank you for going through some of the questions on the answered Q&A. I think next up, we do have the difference between, and this is kind of something that a question's come up quite often. How do you define the coaching versus therapy and psychotherapy?
Yeah, this is a good question. I'll answer it. And then Jules, if you want to pick out the next question to answer. Coaching and therapy are similar. So it is confusing because, you have a trusted confidant that you're talking to about your life and trying to resolve things, but they're also very different. So when we look at professional licensed services such as mental health counseling, clinical counseling, or psychotherapy, these are medical professions in which a person would have to go to a university and get trained under a specific model, and then they are using that model with clients. So professional therapists, for instance, are going to use professional assessments. They are going to use professional diagnosis. They will use professional psychotherapies and professional treatment plans. And so all of those are approved by licensing boards. And it's a process of looking at a client's state of pathology and identifying what would be the best psychotherapies to use to work through those pathologies. And there's obviously a lot more to it, but the key thing there is professional evaluations and assessments, professional diagnostic criteria, giving that diagnosis, and then writing those treatment plans. And that is all going to be based on academic and scientific findings and medical boards and what they have determined would be best for clients who are suffering with some kind of mental illness. And when you're looking at coaching, this is going to be a completely different sector. So coaching is not regulated by legislature. So technically anybody can call themselves a coach. And so you'll see out there all kinds of different coach trainings. That's what makes our coach training so unique, is there just isn't any coach training like ours in the world. There's a couple new ones probably popping up, but nothing that has been solidified over 10 years. And so what we are doing is we're looking at the wider human experience, and we're not using any kind of professional tools. Rather, we have our own coaching tools, right? And so there's a ton of methodologies and things that have been perfected over as many decades as the medical industry. And so we have a lot of various tools that we use, but they're not licensed tools that you have to be a medical professional for. And we actually like this because we feel that like psychedelic therapies and some of these new treatments are actually inviting clients to do a deeper line of work and to actually look at their human suffering and the predicament of being human a little bit different than through the scope of a pathology or a mental illness and something wrong. Instead, the way that we're approaching it as coaches is like, welcome to the human experience. It's tough here. There's a lot of hardship. There's a lot of adversity that happens. And because of that, there's a lot of symptoms that develop, and it's a part of being human. And actually, we can take these things and we can use them for growth and development and to get to know ourselves better. So what coaches are doing is still using your own evaluations and a personal inventory to help the client identify what's going on in their inner world, what's going on inside their body, inside of their life. And we're looking for goals, and we're looking for obstacles to those goals. And so how can we achieve the state of being, the state of freedom that somebody is looking for, that state of homeostasis? And then how can we start to unpack all of the burdens and blocks and issues and obstacles, whatever you want to call it, that are in the way? So it's a very proactive process. It's very client-centered. Instead of telling the clients, we will assign a treatment program to you, or using a psychotherapy to further diagnose and find more issues. Instead, we're focusing on what is the desired outcome? What is it that we're going for? Where are we hung up? And how can we then work through each of these things to arrive at a better state of awareness and well-being? So it's actually very different. And I'll just add that most people, and one of you spoke to that, Charles, in the chat, are not looking for licensed professionals per se. They're looking for a trusted confidant, an accountability partner, and someone to help them sort through their life that is not going to diagnose them, that is not going to judge them, that is going to look at the greater human experience and provide a container to assess what all of that means and how to move beyond it. So yes, I hope that helps. Coaches, I'll add too, this was another question in the chat box that relates. Coaches come from all walks of life. And that's what's really great about our program, is we have literally coaches from everywhere. I think I mentioned earlier, we have cops and firefighters and veterans, we have professors, we have mothers, we have social workers, counselors, former. They're not using the medical services in the coaching arena. We have doctors, we've had literally all kinds of professionals come through. And that's great, because then when we have clients come through, we can find somebody that shared interest or experience in that industry and can help them and can understand their background and where they came from. So coaches are really self-taught. They go through many different training programs. It could be trauma-informed training programs. It could be peak performance and any number of things. Coaches tend to have lots of different credentials, lots of different trainings, and oftentimes they have, the higher education as well. So, okay, next question.
Yeah, I can jump in and answer, because a couple of these questions kind of relate to what you were saying, Deanne, and good answer there. So I'd just like to answer the second part of Jeffrey's question, which was, are there scope of practice considerations or firewalls separating coaching from clinical therapy? So I think Deanne kind of touched on that in the differentiators between coaches and mental health therapists, but I'll say, we don't deal with, like Deanne said, pathologizing people. We don't deal with diagnoses. We don't try and supplant the medical industry at all. We know that's not our role and that's not our scope. So we don't say, someone comes to us, we don't say, oh, like you have a diagnosis of depression. We don't do that. We work with people around, if they have said, hey, I'm coming to ketamine because I'm diagnosed with depression, then we can work with them around their symptomology. But we're not going to be diagnosing people. And so for me too, it's like, if you have a diagnosis of depression, it doesn't really tell me much. Tell me how that actually shows up in your life. Tell me how that affects your quality of life. Are you getting out of bed? Are you brushing your teeth? And those are the actionable things that we actually work on in coaching, and so we set up, like Deanne says, it's really about goals and action steps and walking through these different processes. So, I don't see there as being like firewalls. I see that a lot of people come to coaching, like Dan says, because they're kind of exhausted from years of therapy and being in this system where they can often feel like it's not helping them move forward in certain ways, especially the kind of demographic that we see coming for these treatments like ketamine or TMS. Again, when you're coming to a coaching relationship and you're talking to someone who has been in very similar shoes, they've walked that journey, there's so much hope that becomes instilled in the relationship from just that connection. And there's so much more, because we don't have a lot of the red tape that they have in therapy. Like, we as coaches are able to talk with our clients about our own experiences. So for example, I work with a lot of teenagers and young adults having a difficult time in their lives. I went through that myself in my teenage years, and I always talk about that with my patients. Usually in the discovery call, I'll talk about some of what's an appropriate amount to share about what I went through. And that immediately helps bring their guards down and soften, because it's not creating this hierarchy of, oh, you're up here and I'm down here. It's more like, hey, let's meet in the middle. And I really understand where you're coming from. And I just am a little bit further along in my process and have more tools in my toolbox. But I want to help you here. And again, it's really that hand-holding experience. So I hope that helps answer your question. Happy to talk more about that. Moving to Charles's question, asking about when people, they want to pay for IV and ketamine so that they can rest and not do any more work. What do we say to these people when we see that they'll still need a lot more work? Great question. We see this so often. And the truth is, if you want to change your life, if you want to get out of the circumstance you're in, it is going to take some work. Granted, I look at these things like ketamine and TMS, they are accelerants. And so it makes it easier to do the work, and it's going to accelerate that process for you. But you can't just sit in the chair and expect your life to change. This isn't a magic bullet. There is no magic bullets, unfortunately. If there was, we'd all be happy and super wealthy and, living our best life. But this is the human experience. Like Deanne said, welcome to the human experience. Suffering is an innate part of the human experience. But we have tools that can make this easier, and we have accountability and support partners and people that have been through this. We have so many tools and things that we use in this to make this work easier. And I think actually done the right way, it can be fun. And I work with a lot of younger clients. I like to gamify things, hey, let's make this a quest. And there's so much that can be done to make this feel like less work, so that we don't hit that point of exhaustion again, because we do see that a lot with our patients. And again, I think it's when you've been through so many different clinicians or treatment centers and all of this, when you're starting fresh with a completely new process, it's like, hey, IV ketamine, so new, coaching, so new. We're taking a different spin on a lot of the same things that helps enliven people in this process, and really, again, just makes it more of an engaging, fun process. So great questions there.
And Jules, if you don't mind, just really quickly, I want to interject in one thing. We spoke to Matthew Johnson from Johns Hopkins a few months back about psychedelic integration. And the idea is a therapeutic experience. It's not limited to a clinical professional or a licensed professional. That's the idea in how we do things. And also it's a maintenance of a response. That neuroplastic slide you mentioned, or data you mentioned, is what durability is all about. So if there's a treatment response and there's durability there's an ongoing effort to keep that durability going from other mechanisms. You guys have seen Art of Consult on Move. We talk about this all the time. The patient does treatment. They're going to the brain gym. The brain gets the workout. What's the protein for that workout? Reading, writing, music, art, therapy, exercise. So again, we say the word comprehensive in a very fluffy way, but the reality is it's a therapeutic process, I think, is the emphasis here. So I really appreciate what you guys are saying, because we're preaching the same sentiment, and it's great to hear. Next question. Let's see. I have a question from Jill, and this is a good one. I want to see if we can get this answered. What's the best way to market this for a specific client or practice? How does a provider or an office market a service like this in addition to what they already offer?
This is something that we will help you with. So we will provide marketing copy. We can even do these co-branded webinars with your center as well to educate people. But basically, what you're doing is speaking to them about what they truly want. What they want is not ketamine treatment. What they want is results. What they want is to be happy. What they want is to heal their marriage and bond with their children and find their purpose in life and overcome their anxieties and feel good in their body. And so in the marketing, you're talking about what's that vision that they set out to achieve? Why is it that they're going to spend $4,000 or $8,000 on a ketamine treatment when they probably don't have that extra money sitting around? It's because they want a desired result. And so when we really look at that, we can speak to people about the genuine interest that your clinic has to truly help them reach results, not just have another treatment that they've tried or some fun experiences to talk about and tell their friends, but we want to help them transform their lives. We want to help them be the best version of themselves. And so when we can have that conversation with people and really educate them around their role and their ability to create results in their life, it's exciting for them, it's inspiring for them. And honestly, we have seen that clinics are getting more sales from adding integration to their program, because people kind of know on the back of their head at this point, like, if I just do a treatment alone, like, magic is not going to happen. They understand that they're going to have to do the work. And so what we have seen in all the clinics that we've worked with is that people are making more sales, the clients are staying engaged longer, they're getting better results, and they're sending in more referrals, because the hype around the the work that they're doing is just, it feels good. So with marketing, there's a lot we can do in terms of providing you with copy, having classes, having workshops. So that's something that we can support you on if you wanted to work with us, for sure. Good question.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess then what in terms of the going back to some of the clinical discussions, how would you deal with some of the emergencies? And I know, Jules, you talked about this a little bit. There's a little questions about liability and things like that. I mean, that's where the clinical or licensed professional discussion comes up. How would you answer that in terms of dealing with emergencies and suicidality and example situations where potential liability was averted?
I can certainly answer that unless you want to, Jules.
No, you can go for it, and then I'll add anything I see fit.
Yeah, I love hearing you speak about it. You know, she's been managing our ketamine clinics for a while. So anything you want to add? This does come up, and from, you know, the perspective of working with people's deeper psychology and opening Pandora's box, we want them to share where they're at. We really want them to be able to express their feelings. And so the way that we approach it is calmly and compassionately. It's not something that we react heavily to, because we do see that these thoughts come up and that people do need a place to talk about it. And by not reacting to it and just having a space for people, oftentimes it does help them put some of those thoughts to rest and help them transform it. But we are trained to look at the severity of the situation. Does somebody have a plan? Are they actively doing it? Or is this just something they're expressing? And if it is something that we feel that is moderate to severe in terms of a warning, then we will talk to them about who's in their home, who's with them right now. Can we maybe get someone else on the phone? And we make sure that there is someone else that is there, a companion. We even have companion training if we need to go further and support the on-site members. And then we would talk to them about their medical professionals. Do they have a doctor, a counselor that they could call? Maybe there's someone at your clinic that's available for this. Maybe you have a psychologist on the clinic that you want us to connect them with. We sure will. But we make sure that they are safe and that they have a plan for getting through that episode that they're in that day. There have been situations where we had to call for more support, but normally it's not, it hasn't been a problem because we're just used to this in this line of work, people having these kinds of conversations. So the liability for a coach would just be the same liability that you would have morally as a person. So we don't have the same liabilities to where we have a duty to warn, but we would still exercise that duty. Certainly, we would communicate with the clinic and we would make sure that they are safe with a loved one or with a medical professional in that same room with them until they get through with it. Furthermore, we usually will send a written message to them via email recommending further medical support. That would just help cover your clinic and us, acknowledging that we've heard these things and that we're recommending that they seek further medical support if needed. And then we would follow up with them. So that would be our process there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Guys, I know we are at a time limit today, so I do appreciate you guys jumping on and being here with us. I think this presentation, this webinar was very enlightening to the power and potential, as well as the essential need to incorporate the preparation and the integration services as an extension of what you guys do. For everybody on our call today, there is a jot form link in the chat box. Please click on that link. It'll connect you with the team at Being True to You. I know Jules was kind enough to share her email in there as well, so you have access to her email. We really, really appreciate all of our attendees and guests here with us. And thank you to our panelists at Being True to You. This is really helpful, and I don't think this is the only time we're going to be doing this. So hopefully we can get on another call again. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. There's an email right there for you, jules@beingtruetoyou.com. And we would love to connect a lot of our clients with Being True to You. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Deanne. Thank you, Jules. Appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week, and happy holidays to everybody.